I was 200 miles away at a construction site when my phone buzzed with a ring notification. Motion detected. Master bedroom, 2:47 p.m. That was weird. My wife Lisa was supposed to be at work until 6, and our dog Bailey never went upstairs during the day. I opened the app, expecting to see Bailey doing something stupid. Instead, I saw my wife walking into our bedroom with her boss. His hand was on her lower back. She was laughing at something he said. Then the door closed. My hands went numb. The phone almost slipped from my grip. I stood there in the middle of a muddy job site, watching the timestamp tick forward. 2:48 p.m., 2:49 p.m., 2:50 p.m. The door didn't open. I switched to the hallway camera. Nothing. Living room camera? Empty. They were still in there. My foreman walked over. "Hayes, you good? You look like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't speak. I just stared at the screen. 2:51 p.m., 2:52 p.m. Then I did something I'd been preparing for without even knowing it. I opened a different app on my phone, one Lisa didn't know existed, and I watched the live feed from the camera she definitely didn't know about, the one hidden in our bedroom. If you want to know what I saw and what I did with the footage that destroyed her story before she could even tell it, hit subscribe, because what happened next didn't just end my marriage, it ended her career. My name is Ryan Hayes. I'm 39 years old, and I'm a project manager for a commercial construction company in Charlotte, North Carolina. I spend most of my days on job sites, steel and concrete, blueprints and deadlines, the kind of work where you come home with dust in your hair and soreness in your shoulders. It's honest work, it pays well, and it keeps me on the road a lot. 2, sometimes 3 nights a week, I'm staying in hotels near project sites across the Carolinas. My wife, Lisa, works in pharmaceutical sales. She's good at it, makes 6 figures, drives a company car, gets bonuses that make my Christmas look like a kid's allowance. We've been married for 11 years. No kids, her choice. She said she wasn't ready. Then she said her career was taking off. Then it just stopped being a conversation. We have a house in a nice suburb. 3 bedrooms, 2-car garage, a backyard where our golden retriever, Bailey, runs himself tired every evening. From the outside, we looked like we had it figured out. From the inside, I'd been feeling something off for months. It started small. Lisa's work schedule got busier. More client dinners, more regional meetings, more nights where she'd come home at 9 p.m. smelling like wine and expensive cologne that wasn't mine. "How was dinner?" I'd ask. "Fine, exhausting, I'm going to bed." No details, no stories, just walls.
Then there was her phone. It used to sit on the kitchen counter, face up, buzzing with notifications she'd laugh about. Now it was always face down, always in her purse, always locked. "Who's texting you?" I asked once. "Work," she said, not looking up. "At 10 p.m.? Ryan, I'm in sales. People don't stop needing things just because it's nighttime." Fair enough, except her tone wasn't defensive. It was dismissive, like I was a child asking why the sky is blue. Then there was Greg Whitmore, her regional director. Mid-40s, divorced, drove a BMW, wore suits that cost more than my truck payment. She'd mentioned him before, casually. "Greg thinks I should apply for the senior rep position. Greg wants me to lead the presentation at the national conference. Greg says I have real leadership potential." Greg says, Greg thinks, Greg wants. I started noticing his name more and more, and every time she said it, there was this energy, like she lit up just saying the syllables. One night I asked, "You talk about Greg a lot. What's he like?" She shrugged. "He's fine, good manager, knows the business." "That's it?" "What do you want me to say, Ryan? He's my boss." But the way she said boss felt loaded, like there was a sentence after it she wasn't saying out loud. I'm not a jealous man, never have been, but I'm also not stupid. I started paying attention. I noticed she started dressing differently on days she had meetings with Greg. I noticed she'd check her makeup in the car before leaving for work. I noticed she stopped wearing her wedding ring to the office. It gets in the way when I'm typing, she said. And I noticed Bailey, our dog, who used to greet her at the door like she'd been gone for a year, started acting weird. He'd sniff her when she came home, not happy sniffing, confused sniffing, like she smelled wrong. I'm a builder. I solve problems, so I started thinking like one. If something's wrong, you don't guess, you measure. I started with the simple stuff. I checked our cell phone bill. Lots of calls to one number. I reverse searched it. Greg Whitmore. Calls at lunch, calls at night, calls on weekends. Way more than a normal boss-employee relationship. Then I checked our credit card statements. Charges I didn't recognize. Lingerie stores, a hotel in Asheville. On a weekend, she said she was visiting her sister. I called her sister. Lisa was here, she said, confused. No, I haven't seen her in months. That's when I knew. Not suspected, knew. But knowing isn't proof. And I needed proof. Not for me. I already believed my gut. I needed proof for what came next. So I did something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret. I installed cameras. We already had a Ring doorbell and a camera in the living room. Standard stuff. Lisa knew about those.
What she didn't know was that I installed 3 more. One in the hallway upstairs, one in the garage, and one in our bedroom. Hidden, small, wireless, streaming to a private cloud account only I could access. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I'd check the footage, see nothing, and feel like an idiot. But I also told myself if something is happening, I'm not going to be the last one to know. For 2 weeks, nothing. Just normal life. Lisa going to work, me going to job sites, Bailey being a dog. I checked the cameras every night. Living room, hallway, bedroom. Empty. Boring. Normal. I started to think maybe I was crazy. Maybe I was seeing patterns that weren't there. Then came Tuesday, March 14th. I was in Greensboro, 2 hours from home, managing a commercial build that was running behind schedule. My phone was in my pocket, on silent, while I was talking to the concrete crew about a foundation issue. When I finally checked it during lunch, I had 3 Ring notifications. Front door, 2:34 p.m., motion detected. Living room, 2:35 p.m., motion detected. Master bedroom, 2:47 p.m., motion detected. My stomach dropped. Lisa wasn't supposed to be home. She had a full day of client visits. That's what she'd told me that morning. I opened the Ring app. The front door footage showed Lisa's car pulling into the driveway at 2:33 p.m. Then a second car, a black BMW. Greg. I watched the living room camera. Lisa walked in first. She was laughing, relaxed. Greg followed. He said something I couldn't hear. She laughed again. Then they walked toward the stairs. Out of frame. I switched to the hallway camera. There they were, walking toward the bedroom. His hand was on her lower back, not aggressive, familiar, like he'd done it 100 times before. She opened the bedroom door. They went inside. The door closed. I stared at the screen. 2:47 p.m. 2:48 p.m. 2:49 p.m. The door stayed closed. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. My foreman, Eddie, walked over. "Hayes, you okay?" I couldn't answer. I just stood there, frozen, watching the timestamp tick forward. 2:50 p.m. 2:51 p.m. Eddie looked at my face. "You need to sit down, man." I shook my head. Then I did something I'd been preparing for without even realizing it. I opened a second app,
the one connected to the hidden camera, the one in the bedroom, and I pressed play. The camera was small, tucked on top of the bookshelf, angled toward the bed. The feed was clear, HD, no sound, but I didn't need sound. I saw everything. Lisa and Greg, in my bed. The bed I'd bought, the sheets I'd washed, the room I'd painted. I watched for 10 seconds. That was enough. I closed the app, set the phone down, and threw up in the dirt. Eddie drove me to a gas station, got me a bottle of water, didn't ask questions.
I sat in my truck in the parking lot, staring at the steering wheel. My brain was moving in 2 directions. One part of me wanted to drive home, kick the door in, scream, break things. The other part, the part that builds things for a living, was already calculating. Evidence, timestamps, footage. If I went home now, I'd blow everything on emotion. If I waited, I could build a case she couldn't talk her way out of. I chose the second option. I opened my phone and started downloading files. Every camera, every angle, every second. I saved it to 3 different places: cloud, external drive, email to myself. Then I called someone I never thought I'd need, a divorce attorney. Her name was Monica Reeves. A friend from college had used her during his divorce, said she was ruthless. "I need to see you today," I said when she answered. "I'm booked until... My wife is in our bed with her boss right now. I have it on camera. I need to see you today." Silence. Then, "Come to my office at 5. Bring the footage." I didn't go home that night. I told Lisa I had to stay in Greensboro for an emergency with the project. She texted back, "Okay, miss you. Heart." I stared at that heart emoji for a long time. Then I opened the footage again, watched her walk into our bedroom with another man, watched her betray 11 years of marriage in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon, and I felt something inside me go cold and clear. Not rage, not heartbreak, strategy. Monica's office was in a high-rise in downtown Charlotte, glass walls, expensive art, the kind of place that charges $500 an hour and earns it. She was in her 50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. I sat across from her and slid my phone across the desk. "This is from today, 2:47 p.m. She watched the footage. Her face didn't change. When it was over, she set the phone down. "Do you have more?" 3 cameras, multiple angles, all saved. Good. She opened a legal pad. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go home. You're going to act normal. You're not going to confront her." "Why not?" "Because the moment you confront her, she'll start building her defense. She'll delete messages. She'll coordinate stories with him. She'll lawyer up." Monica leaned forward. "Right now, she thinks she's safe. She thinks you don't know. That's your advantage. So what do I do? You document, you wait, and when the time is right, you hit her with everything at once, in a courtroom where she can't run." I nodded slowly. "How long?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. We need to make sure we have everything. And then, Monica smiled. It wasn't warm. Then we bury her.
Going home that night was the hardest thing I've ever done. I pulled into the driveway at 8 p.m. Lisa's car was there, lights on inside. I sat in the truck for 5 minutes, breathing, preparing. Then I walked in. Bailey greeted me at the door, tail wagging. Lisa was in the kitchen, making dinner. She smiled when she saw me. "Hey, I thought you were staying in Greensboro." "Finished early," I said. "Wanted to sleep in my own bed." She kissed me on the cheek. "I'm glad you're home." I looked at her, really looked at her. She seemed normal, happy even, like she hadn't spent the afternoon in our bed with another man. "How was your day?" I asked. "Busy. Lots of client meetings. I'm exhausted. I bet. We ate dinner, we watched TV, we went to bed. She fell asleep next to me, her breathing soft and steady. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was living in a stranger's life. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the role of the oblivious husband. I went to work, I came home, I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, and I watched the cameras. March 16th, Greg came over, 3:15 p.m. They were in the bedroom for an hour. March 21st, another visit, 2:50 p.m. Same routine. March 24th, this time they didn't even make it to the bedroom, living room, couch. I saved every file, every timestamp, every angle. Monica was building a timeline, a pattern. "This isn't a one-time mistake," she said during one of our meetings. "This is an ongoing affair. That matters in court." How? Because it shows intent. It shows she's not remorseful. It shows she's been actively deceiving you. She slid a document across the desk. North Carolina is one of the few states that still recognizes alienation of affection. What's that? It means you can sue the person who interfered with your marriage, in this case, Greg. I blinked. Sue him? For damages, emotional distress, loss of consortium. It's a real law, and with this footage, we'd win. I sat back. How much are we talking? Depends on the jury, but cases like this have settled for 6 figures. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Let's do it. On April 2nd, I came home early. Lisa's car was in the driveway, so was Greg's BMW. I parked down the street and checked the cameras. They were in the bedroom. I waited.
At 4:30 p.m., Greg left. I watched him walk to his car, adjust his tie, and drive away. At 4:45 p.m., I walked into my house. Lisa was in the kitchen, making coffee. She jumped when she saw me. "Ryan, you scared me. I thought you were working late." "Change of plans," I said. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "How was your day?" "Interesting." I set my bag down and pulled out my phone. "Actually, I wanted to show you something." "What?" I opened the Ring app, pulled up the footage from an hour ago, and turned the screen toward her. She looked at it. Her face went white. "Ryan." "Don't," I said quietly. "Just don't." She tried. She tried to explain, to justify, to minimize. "It's not what it looks like. We were just talking. Nothing happened." I didn't argue. I just played the next video, the one from the bedroom camera. She watched herself, watched the truth she couldn't spin, and then she started crying. "Ryan, please, I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything." "It meant something," I said. "It meant our marriage is over." I slid an envelope across the counter. "What's this?" "Divorce papers. You're being served tomorrow, but I wanted you to see them first." Her hands shook as she opened it. "You're also being named in a lawsuit," I continued, "along with Greg. Alienation of affection. My lawyer thinks we'll settle for around $200,000. Her head snapped up. "You can't." "I can, and I am." She stared at me, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you did it first," I said. "I'm just making sure everyone knows." The next morning, Greg was served at his office. By noon, he'd called me 6 times. I didn't answer. By 5 p.m., his lawyer had reached out to Monica. They wanted to settle. "He's offering $150,000. He doesn't want this going to trial, bad for his career. Tell him $200,000 or we go public." She smiled. "I like the way you think." 2 days later, Greg agreed. $200,000, plus a signed confession that he'd engaged in an affair with my wife. Lisa tried to fight the divorce. Her lawyer argued that I'd invaded her privacy by installing cameras. Monica shut that down fast. North Carolina is a one-party consent state. Mr. Hayes had every right to install cameras in his own home.
The judge agreed. Lisa got nothing. No alimony, no house, no settlement. Just her car and her shame.
6 months later, I was sitting on the back porch of my new place. Smaller house, bigger yard. Bailey at my feet. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. Lisa. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger, out of indifference. She wasn't part of my life anymore, and I was okay with that. I scratched Bailey's ears and looked out at the yard. The $200,000 from Greg had paid off the house. The divorce had freed me from a marriage that was already dead. And the cameras, the ones she didn't know about, had given me something more valuable than money. The truth. People ask me if I regret installing those cameras. I don't, not for a second. Because here's what I learned. Trust is good. Verification is better. I didn't go looking for trouble. I went looking for truth. And the truth, as ugly as it was, set me free. Lisa's still in pharmaceutical sales. Different company, different city. Greg got demoted, lost his bonus. His ex-wife found out about the lawsuit and took him back to court for more child support. Me? I'm good. I've got my dog, my job, my peace, and a camera system that actually works. If this story hit home, comment trust but verify. If you've ever had that gut feeling that something was wrong, if you've ever been gaslit into thinking you were crazy, if you've ever needed proof to protect yourself, this one's for you. Hit subscribe for more stories about men who didn't just survive betrayal, they documented it. Because the best defense isn't hoping for the best, it's preparing for the worst and having the footage to prove it.